at 6:30 and it is Friday, so that makes a change. So it is Tea with Fee live at 5 on a Friday, but it's not at 5 o'clock. But never mind. Anyway, it's been a while, guys. How are we all? This is very impromptu today. I needed to tell you about something exciting that's happening in the Make It So world. And as you can see, I am in Make It So HQ. So for those of you that haven't been here before, this is Make It So HQ. And my exciting news is to do with this. So this blank bit of wall, and I'll tell you what's happening. So Make It So is going to do the block of the month. So for all of you quilters or wannabe quilters out there, there is going to be a quilt block of the month. And I have done the first block in preparation for the quilt block of the month. And I thought I would share it with you today. Now, the plan is that there will be an actual in-person workshop to make this happen. However, I might do a live or some sort of recorded video of it as well. So that is to be confirmed. But let me show you what we're going to make today. So we're going to make this quilt block. So it's quite beginner. So it's great for all those people that are starting out. So this is the plan. We're going to make one of these. This finished block will be 12 inches. You can do it in whatever sizes that you want, but this one is worked on 12 inches. What you're going to need, and obviously this is totally sprung on everybody, so I appreciate that nobody has got any of this stuff available, but you know, it's how I roll. So what you're going to need to make this is one 4.5 inch square in this star colour. This is called the Friendship Star. So one 4.5 inch square for this bit. And then you need four 4.5 inch squares for the outside colour. And then you're going to need an 8 inch square of each of the two colours to make these. Now these are called half square triangles. So I'm going to show you how to do that. So it's a half square triangle. And the way we're going to do it today is we're actually going to make 4 of them at once. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to do that. So in proper Blue Peter fashion, here are some that I made earlier. So we have got our centre square, which is 4.5 inches. Our outside squares, and there's 4 of those in the darker fabric. And then we've got our 2 8-inch squares, one of each colour. And these are going to be sewn to make our half square triangles. Now there are various ways of doing this. This particular method is we're going to make 4 at a time, but you can also do 2 at a time, and you can also do 8 at a time. But for this particular workshopy thing, we're going to do 4 at a time, which is perfect because we need 4. Right, so the other thing I'm going to say to you before we get started is top tips for quilting. So before you start quilting, there are things that you need to do, okay? Check your bobbin is full or got enough on it, depending on how much quilting you're going to do. Mine's not got loads on it, but we don't have that much to do, so I'm going to keep my fingers crossed and play bobbin chicken. My thread doesn't have an awful lot on it, but I've got another one here which is spare for a quick switch over. If you were going to do a lot of quilting, I would recommend that you've loaded up a couple of bobbins so that you don't need to rethread your machine to wind the bobbin. So make sure that you've got a couple in it ready prepared so that you can just switch them out. So that's another good tip. The key thing for successful quilting is all about pressing and accurate cutting and seam allowances, okay? So most of the time your seam allowance is going to be 1/4 inch, and then some people refer to scant 1/4 inches and 1/4 inch. So a scant 1/4 inch is where you're kind of going slightly over and it's a little bit less than 1/4 inch. So just check your instructions. And again, it's one of these things, practice makes perfect. The more you do it, the better you get at it. And I would just say from the outset that it's a journey. Enjoy the process, don't get stressed out about the fact that your 1/4 inches are not exact 1/4 inches, because it'll spoil the fun for you. So just enjoy the process, enjoy the journey, use it as a mindful exercise. And to be honest, if you're doing this and you're working on quilting, you're not thinking about any of the other stuff that's going on. You've left that at the front door, or before you switched on your sewing machine. You can't be thinking about other things. So it's brilliant for that purpose. So anyway, let's get started. So 1/4 inch seam allowances. Now, because I'm doing this live, I'm going to have to kind of switch the camera around. So I'm really sorry if we go a bit like this. But let's just do that now. So if I figure out how to switch the camera around, there we go. So things you might need for quilting a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Now, I've got a couple of things going on here. I don't need to use them all at the same time. It was just for the purposes of explaining to you and talking through them. So this is actually a 1/4 inch foot that I have got on my machine. Oh, look, it lets me zoom in. Now, this has got quite a lot of feet have got a slit here so that the needle can move from left to right. This one doesn't, so that it means that the fabric can't disappear into that gap, and it should help make your lines a bit straighter. So this is a 1/4 inch foot. This bit here is a 1/4 of an inch from the needle to the edge. And this one has got the added advantage of it's got this little guide, so you can butt the fabric up against it. If you don't have this, then you can put tape on your machine and you just follow the tape. You put the fabric next to the tape like that, and then you just run it along. Or the machine will probably have marks on the plate. So this is like your needle plate here, and it's got loads of marks on it. And if you follow this down to here, this has got 1/4 of an inch on it, and that's where my tape lines up to. So you've got the option of the tape, and then you can also get these things which are like a magnet, and the magnet just sticks on, as you can see, and then you put that to your 1/4 of an inch slot, and then you use that as your guide. So this works the same way as this, really. So they are my options for you. So whilst I've got the camera like this, I want to also show you something else very quickly. So if I just wheel us round and talk to you about this, which looks really weird. Ignore the mess. Okay, so I have got no idea how far up you are. Okay, so this is literally what you would call a quilting wall. So for anybody that's not heard of a quilting wall, this is where you can put all your quilt blocks on the wall and see them at a glance, rather than trying to do it on the floor, because quite often there's not enough room in the floor. Sorry, I'll turn myself back around. So quite often there's not enough room on the floor, or you're looking at it from a funny angle. So if you can put them on a wall, if you've got a wall space big enough, then you can hang them on the wall, and it gives you a better visual. And we were doing that today in sewing lessons. So if I just talk you through, basically all we have got here. Now I'm lucky because I'm in a shed, my walls are wood, but this is literally a bit of wadding to put inside my quilt. I've pinned it to the wall with just push pins, and basically the way that it works is that oh, hang on, you're going to fall. The quilted square will literally stick to that like fuzzy felts. So if I just stick this up here, and you can see that that's staying on, that will stay on there, but it's easy to take on and off and rearrange them. So if you're trying to decide on what layout for all your squares, this is a fabulous way of doing it. You're probably going to buy the wadding to put inside the quilt anyway, so there's no additional cost involved. And it just makes your life so much easier. So that is a quick top tip for you. Another top tip for you. Right, okay, so I feel like Challenge Annika here for anybody that remembers that. Right, okay, so I've got that back off the wall. Let us continue. Right, so we're going to talk half square triangles. That's what we're going to do first. So we have got, we've got our two squares. And literally all we're going to do with this is put them right sides together, pin them, and then we're going to sew round the outside at 1/4 inch seam allowance. So we're going to sew round the outside edge, 1/4 inch seam allowance. Now, because of my whole camera setup thing, I'm not going to try and rearrange the camera for you to watch me sewing it. Because I don't have the tripod at the right angle for you to see it. And I've lost my pins. Hang on. Oh, hang on. Oh, here we go. Right, they were there the whole time. Right, so pinning my squares together. I really like these pins. I'm not just using those at the minute, but if I had go-to pins, these are the pins that I would use. But I thought I was prepared before I came on and had everything at hand, but I obviously didn't have the pins at hand. Oh well. The joys of doing things live. Right, so I'm going to sew this with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. My stitch length is currently 2, and I'm going to leave it as 2. And we are going for a 1/4 inch seam. And I am going to, and I do it fairly slowly. And you don't need to reverse or anything at the beginning or the end. So, hopefully you can still hear me. So I'm just, oh, come on. Live, and it's not, and the sewing machine decides it's not playing. Oh, okay, right. Technical problems before we even start, love it. Let's just continue, see how we're getting on. Oh, I don't know what happened there. Right, so, oh, I can tell you exactly what happened there. Schoolgirl error. It's a bit hard to sew when you've got no bobbin in. Okay, just talk amongst yourselves whilst I put the bobbin in. And now probably run out of thread. Right, okay, the bobbin is in. Oh, okay, anyway, let's get back to the learning part of this instead of the comedy value. Let's pretend that never happened. Okay, so as I said, 1/4 inch seam allowance. Right, okay, I think we're working now. Panic over. Right. And at the minute, now I'm just going to tell you now, before we get to the end, that my straight lines are not very straight because I'm trying to do this and look at you at the same time. So that's my excuse and I'm sticking to it. But yeah, that's not that straight. But you get the rough idea. And like I say, this is basically me teaching you the theory behind it. And then, as I said before, practice makes perfect, and you just work on it, and then you improve the more you do it. And each time you get a little bit better because you've learned something from the last time. So sewing is all about learning and growing. And hopefully, whilst you're doing that, you're actually getting some quality time away from whatever else is going on, and you can just chill and just have a little bit of quality time for yourself. Can't beat a bit of sewing for quality. Quality time. This is meant to be a quiet machine. I don't know if it's the table that's vibrating. Right, so I've gone all the way around. I'm going to reverse. Hello to everybody that's watching. I can't currently see any comments. I don't know if there are any comments. But if you're there, say hi. So we have got 2 pieces. and they have been sewn together. And I know I said before that I thought I was organised, but I've just realised I'm not. So I'm just going to go and get the cutting stuff. Talk amongst yourselves. Okay, I'm back. So normally I would do this with my rotary cutter and all that kind of palaver, but that involves moving all of that and we don't have time because we're live. But it's not 5, but it is Friday and it is tea with Fee, although I don't have a cup of tea. Right, so basically I'm just going to draw on this so that you can see what's going to happen. So I'm basically drawing a line through the centre diagonally, and then we're going to cut that, and then I will show you what happens next. This is really difficult to do. And the table's got bumps on it. Sorry if you're just looking at the top of my head. Let me know if I've got a bald patch or any grey. Right, so you're going to cut it across. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to cut through both layers, but you could, if you wanted to make a bigger square with, I'll show you in a minute, with this colour in the middle as a diamond. You could have that colour in the middle as a diamond, and then one of these as a rectangle, as a triangle on each corner. Then you would just cut through one layer, but we're going to cut through both layers. I'm just going to use scissors, but as I say, normally I would use the rotary cutter, but we're just going to use the scissors. So we need our finished squares, half square triangles, half square HST, half square triangles. So quilting, like a lot of hobbies and crafty things, quilting has got, hi Julie, quilting has got its little abbreviation. So HST is half square triangle. So that's what we're making. And we want these to be 4.5 inches when they're finished. Okay, so ta-da! We have a half square triangle, and a half square triangle basically means 2 triangles put together make a square. Therefore, you've got 2, which is half. So half square triangle. Okay, so we have, and we made 4 of those at the one time because we've just cut these 2 triangles into 4. Okay, so then what we're going to do, and again, as I said at the beginning, this is probably not going to be my finest work because I'm trying to look at you and talk to you whilst cut things out. So I'm using that as my excuse and I'm sticking to it. We now have 4 of these that we're going to use to make this. Okay, so we need to just press them. So again, as I said at the beginning, pressing is important when you're quilting because it just sets the stitches, and then you want to press them as open as they're going to be so that they can be as accurate as possible. So what you do first of all is you press it down like this, and that basically embeds the stitches into the fabrics, which makes it more secure before you then open your seams or press them to the side. In this case, I am going to open my seams and press them open. And you can see from this, look how wobbly that is. So this is definitely not going to be an accurate 1/4 inch seam allowance. But we're live and we're going with it. So I'm going to iron press these. Ironing is where you move the iron over something. Pressing is where you kind of leave it and hold it down. Right, so let's press these. If you're bored, let me know. I won't be offended. I just impromptu decided to do this and had no idea how long it was going to take. But anyway, the point of this is make it so it's going to have a block of the month workshop, in-person workshop. The first one is at the end of June, and it will either be in Make It So HQ or it'll be in Union Mills Methodist Church, depending on how many people are going to turn up. And what you're going to learn to do is to make one of these. You bring your own stuff, because this is about learning the process. This is the prototype, not necessarily your finished quilt. And my plan is, over the course of a year, so one a month, we're going to learn 12 different blocks, and then we will also eventually sew them all together to make a quilt top. Now, if you know anything about quilting, we could literally do a block a month, probably till I die, because there are so many options and like different combinations. So it might be that it's like 12 months. It could just go on forever. Who knows? But the purpose of it is to learn how to do 12 different blocks. They'll all kind of like be piggybacked on the back of the original one. So you'll learn different skills and reinforce the skills you've learned from one onto the other. We'll make one together, and then you can choose to make your proper one between classes if you want. Or you can decide to do scrappy quilt, and these become the actual quilt itself, and they're all different, so that's perfectly fine. So yeah, so my point of that is, this is basically bring whatever fabric you've got and use what you've already got, rather than going and buying some more stuff. Because let's be honest, put your hands up, how many people have got a load of fat quarters looking pretty on a shelf or in a drawer somewhere, and you've no idea what you're going to use them for, but you just bought them because you like them? We've all got them. Collecting fabric / fat quarters is like a separate hobby altogether. And I'm not sure that you can do one without the other. So go and raid that stash of fat quarters. And if you are interested in coming to the in-person workshop, so last Saturday in June, I think that's the 28th or the 29th of June. And as I say, depending on how many people are interested, it'll either be here or it'll be down at Union Mills Methodist Church. And I will teach you in person how to do this, which is it's great doing it this way, but if you've got somebody on hand, they can help set up your machine and everything, if you're struggling with something. Or if it's even, like, I've not shown you here how to cut the fabric out or anything. So if you're struggling with cutting the fabric out or any of those kind of things, then we could do that together. So now what I'm going to do, I've got my 4 half square triangles, HSTs, right? But we need to trim these down. So these started off as it started off as 8-inch, 2 8-inch squares, and they've been cut down to this size. Now these are the size, this is the size we want them to be. And I deliberately have done them a bit bigger so that there's room for wonky stitching, okay? Because I'm good like that. So this allows you enough room to trim it down without running out of space. So I'm going to take you over. I need the cutting board now. I need to take you over to the cutting board. Oh, it's a disaster. Hang on, we need to put the light on. This is what you call going live and not thinking things through properly. Oh well. I hope you're enjoying it anyway. Right, so I need to cut these down. Okay? Now the best way to do this. See, Julie, you were meant to go on this little workshop I'm going to do. I'll be back in a minute. I'm jumping. Ta-da! I'm back. Okay. I don't even need this ruler. Anyway, it's important to keep your space tidy as you're going along. Okay? So, a crucial thing that you need, no, you don't need it, but it is really, really helpful if you're doing half square triangles, is a quilting ruler. And I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see this, but this has got like lines on it. So this line here is a 45-degree line. And this is really useful for trimming these to size. So at the minute, it's 5 1/4 inches and we only need 4 1/2, okay? So what you do, I'm going to try and do this. And then I'll hold it up to the camera. Right, so let's see if this works. Can you see that? So you line up. I don't know if you can get the idea. Yeah, so look, there's my 45-degree angle. You line up the join of your triangles on that line, and then you cut it on these two edges, flip it round, and then you cut the other two edges. Does that make sense? Well, I hope I'm giving you a good laugh on a Saturday night, Julie. That's what I was hoping for. Brighten up your day. Right, so you're going to have to look at the top of my head again. So if you want to count my grey hairs, then that's fabulous. And I'm probably going to have more by the time this is finished. But, you know, I reckon that grey hairs are like a medal to have lived long enough to have any. Right, okay. Here we go. This is square number 1. Done. So let me just show you. Let me see if I can do this. Right, okay. So can you see here? So I've already cut this side and then I've flipped it round and I've got the point on my 45-degree angle off my ruler, and I'm over here, I'm on 4 1/2 inches, and over here I'm on 4 1/2 inches. So I need to cut the stuff that's actually sticking out over the ruler, if that makes sense. Now, being left-handed, that might look the wrong way round to quite a few people, but, you know, that's just the way it is. I'm left-handed, you've just got to go with it. You've got to go with what you've got. Right, so this is my first one done, okay? And this is the size it started off. So if I show you here, look how much extra there is. So that's why I've made for this particular workshop, I've made them slightly bigger so that you can get an accurate finished size. If we'd have gone smaller, if that 8-inch square had been smaller, which it could have been, so if you were like tight for fabric, you could do it smaller. But you run the risk of it not fitting in. If you've got your diagonal in the right place, you can end up with your other sides too small, which then makes it a bit trickier. But you can see this is how much that I've cut off. So as you get more experienced, you can go with a tighter margin. But the beauty of these are that there is room for manoeuvre. So this is where measure twice, cut once is very important, but possibly not happening because I'm trying to talk to you at the same time. So there is a good chance that this could go horribly wrong. But, you know, what's the worst that can happen? See what I'm saying? Right, okay, so we now have 2. My rotary cutter blade needs replaced, but we don't have time for that malarkey on here. 2 done, 2 to go, no pressure. And we've only been live 28 minutes. I thought this was going to take about 10 minutes. Another great tip to share with you there is whatever you're sewing always takes longer than you think it's going to take. It's good advice, that. So however long you allocate to do something, it won't be long enough. And then also, if you're on like a bit of a time scale, or you say to somebody, I'll be up, like James will say to me, dinner's nearly ready, and I'll say, I'll be up in 5 minutes. Quite often it's not 5 minutes, because those 5 minutes seem to like just blink and they've gone. So yeah, but that's one of the beauties of sewing, is you just get transported into this little place, this little happy place where you can just put everything else to one side and just concentrate on squares, numbers, 45-degree angles, And what's not to like about that? Right, I'm on the last one. Now, I would also say at this point, choose, you need to have a plan about what do you class as scraps and what's not a scrap. So this is literally, I would say they were scraps. Julie, it wasn't advertised because I literally was sitting making this and thought, do you know what? I'm going to do it live. So tell your friends because we're going to be here for a while. Right, I'm tidying up as I go. The great thing about the shed and the fact that it's wood is I can just put nails in everywhere. So, for example, I don't know if this will work. All my rulers are like literally, there's just nails. Nothing fancy, but it does the job. Okay, so let's take these back over here. We now have all our squares at the right size to do what we need to do. So, let's hope I do these in the right order. Well, you're going to have to do that, Julie, because I'm busy. So, right. We need to sew these together now. 1/4 inch seam allowance. Oh, and going back to the plan. So the plan is, there's going to be a workshop once a month. You bring your own stuff because I want you to use what you've got until you're happy with it. And what we might do is there's loads of different like end results to this particular block of the month workshop. So oh, I'm not sure how to reply to that, Julie. Anyway, so there's loads of outputs to this. So you can just have like learn all the different blocks and do nothing with them and just enjoy learning the skills and meeting new people. Or spending time with people you already know. Who knows? You could also do the blocks and then decide to create your own quilt based on the stuff that you've learned through block of the month. You might then decide that you want to draft your own pattern and quilt, which would be amazing, and I'm happy to help you with that. Or you might decide to keep all of these and make these into the quilt based on each of the blocks that we've got. So there are loads of different options off the end of it. What I'll probably do is on the day I have little kits made up with enough fabric for the block for that day in case you decide that you don't know what you want to do. Like I literally pulled these fabrics out of my scrap bag, didn't overthink it, which is quite good for me. So I'd kind of went down that road. So, but if you've not got like, I've got a big scrap bag. If you've not got the scrap bag or you don't want to eat into your fat quarters, you need to go over that. You need to just take a deep breath and just get on with it, because I'm not being funny, but when you die, they're just going to get put in a charity shop by the people that love you. They're not going to keep them and do anything with them. So I'm just saying, use them whilst you can, people. Okay, so this is what we're trying to replicate, okay? And basically what you're going to do is you're going to sew these 3 together, then you're going to sew these 3 together, then these 3 together, and then you're going to sew this row to this row, and then these 2 rows to this row. So that's basically what we're going to do. I've pressed all the seams open for this particular project. You don't necessarily need to do it that way. There's different pros and cons to pressing them all to the one side. Or if you've got a light fabric, you press to the dark side, which I'm sure everybody's heard, especially on the 4th of May or the May the 4th. Anyway, so we're going to sew these together. So we're going to start with, and I've just got mine in front of me so that I do them in the right order, or this could end up disastrously wrong. So you would pin them, but for speed, not accuracy, but for speed, I'm going to just go for it. So what's the worst that can happen? So we're going to sew these 2 together, 1/4 inch, 1/4 seam allowance. You don't need to reverse or anything. And for this particular one, we're sewing it down this side here. So I'm going to have that at the bottom on the front, because it means that I can then guide it so that it doesn't stitch and then this bit kind of ends up folded over like that, if that makes sense. So that's the plan. If you've stuck with me this long, I appreciate it, because we're now on 35 minutes. I can waffle. I am a good waffler. Right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew them all and then we'll press them all together, okay? Just because I'm doing it live, in the real world, we wouldn't do it like that. In the real world, you would press it, each one individually as you go along, okay? You heard it here. This is the middle row, and I need to sew the middle row down this side, but I'm going to flip it so that this is at the bottom, because sometimes the machine doesn't like it. Hopefully I'll be finished before Emmerdale. Sorry, Emmerdale is the priority. It's my own fault. I didn't warn anybody. I just snuck on. But hopefully it's brightened up your evening unexpectedly. Will I see you tomorrow, Julie, at Crafternoon? Right, so I'm just going to sew this one. Right, okay, that's 2 done. Okay, next one. So this could go disastrously wrong because I'm literally sewing these all together. Now what I've done as well is what's called chain piecing. So this is why it's taking so long, because I'm trying to share all these top tips with you at the same time. Right, let's see if I can show you this. Sorry for all this moving around. There, right, so chain piecing is, I've finished with this one and I'm just sewing straight onto the next one with a little gap, and then the next one. So that's called chain piecing, because you don't need to reverse it or anything, and it means that you're not using up more thread than you need to. Oh, where's your road trip to, Julie? Why am I not invited? I could get offended. Right, so I've got 3, this is what's called chain piecing. I've got 3 joined together. Where's the seam ripper gone? Oh, here we go. Right, so you would press each one individually as you go, but we're not. Do as I say, not as I do. I do think I would have been good on Blue Peter. Maybe not so much now. Right, so that is the bottom. So this now needs a plain one on the bottom. So obviously you choose whatever colours you want. The finished block is going to be, it'll be 12.5 inches, this block, but then you've got your seam allowance still. So if you then sew it to another block, it would end up 12 inches would be the finished size. However, what I plan to do, oh, I think we're going to run out of thread soon. What I plan to do is to quilt them separately. So you'll learn different quilting techniques as well. That's the plan. So by that I mean we'll do some stitch in the ditch. I won't go through like all the explanations of what these are, but we'll do some stitch in the ditch, we'll do some free motion quilting, we'll do some standard like diagonal lines or diamonds, we'll do some hand tying of the quilt, and then we're going to potentially sash them together, but I'm yet to decide on that bit. But again, you're not just going to learn, is what I'm trying to say, the blocks. You're going to learn different methods to quilt the blocks and different methods to join the blocks together. That's the plan. Now, let's just hope that the machine's not going to die on me, because you don't need to be live and watch me try to fix it. Oh, that would not be fun. Right, hang on. What is going on? Yeah, right, hang on. Dun, dun, dun. This could be a disaster. Right, got a big knot going on. Let's see. Okay, we're going to have a look inside. Okay, so the bobbin's not bad. So we've got a bit of a technical problem, people. The machine is chewing up the thread. Happens to us all, not necessarily live on YouTube. I'm going to rethread because that's all I've got left anyway. So let's just rethread. And I'll put a new bobbin in. And then we'll try again. So at the minute I've got this bunched up bit where it's gone a bit wrong, but this is basically the bottom point, okay? The other two are half done, so that's the middle two, and this is the top two, and then they get sewn together. But we now need, I don't even know where my bobbins are. Oh, here we go. Keep cool under pressure. What colour will we have? Right. So we're going to put a new bobbin in. Take a deep breath. Smile. And let's have another go. Thank you for your patience during this difficult time. Your service is important to us. We will be with you as soon as possible. Thanks for calling. Don't know where that came from. Well, I start humming green sleeves. How's that? Think I should go on Britain's Got Talent. Humming and sewing at the same time. Right, the good news is that when this video is over, I can choose not to publish it, so nobody will ever know. It'll just be Julie, because she heard it live. There's a bit of thread stuck in it. Right, this could all be over very soon, but okay, I'm going to give it a go. If this doesn't work, we might have a part 2 video, which might be late. It might be after Emmerdale, once I've got the machine fixed. What time does Emmerdale finish at? Yeah. Okay. Right. I'm really sorry, but we're having technological difficulties. Technological breakdown. There ain't no technological breakdown. This is the road to hell. Anyway. Okay, it's been lovely sewing with you people. This is as far as we got, which is not bad. So that's the top. This is the middle. Can you see where we're going with it? And then this is the other end. So I appreciate your patience during this difficult time, as I said before. It's not going to work. I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to get it fixed, and then we're just going to have a part 2, or I'll just show you it finished. But the point was to show this is the plan. I'm going to do a workshop on it. If you want to come, then I would love it. problems happen and you've just got to deal with them. So that is what today has all been about. I went live. It didn't work particularly as I would have liked it to, but you know, we went there, we did it. So thanks for watching, and I will see you when it's finished. Now, I don't know where the off button is. Okay, I think this is the off button. So thanks for watching.